In January 1968, a small red stone disc was recovered from the shore of the Red Sea. It was 7.62 centimeters in diameter. It fit comfortably in a palm. Its surface was carved with symbols no language database has been able to identify. When held by a living person, it changed color. The color it turned was not random. Current belief holds that it reflects the regrets carried by the holder. Each person who has ever held it has seen a different color. No two people have seen the same one. When placed on a mirror, the disc transforms the mirror into a door. On the other side of that door is a parallel Earth. Empty, silent, frozen at approximately 1953. And crawling through its ruins, enormous faceless creatures that were once human, hunting anything that breathes. The Foundation sent 5 people through that mirror to find out what happened to that world. What they brought back was not a monster story. It was something worse. It was the story of a god. The first thing the Foundation's test subjects noticed was the color. Every environment on the other side of the mirror carried a heavy tinge: blue, green, violet, yellow, the same color the disc had turned in the hands of the person entering, as if the world itself had been dyed by the regret that opened it. The second thing they noticed was the silence. Cities that should have held millions, empty. Office buildings with computers still running an operating system called Faithful OS, a logo of praying hands, still loading on screens no one had looked at for decades. Autonomous vehicles parked in streets, their interiors filled with a dark biological substance. Farmhouses with food still spoiling on the counter, children's clothes arranged on stairs, toys from 1953 sitting exactly where they were left. The third thing they noticed was the smell. A thick, biological odor that got worse the lower you went. The lower floors of every structure, the basements, the pits beneath the basements. And then, eventually, the things crawling through the ruins. Enormous, bipedal but moving on their arms because they had no lower body, no facial features, absorbing everything biological they encountered. 50 times the size of a human being, minimum, moving slowly through dead cities like they had nowhere to be and all the time in the world. The Foundation called them the Unclean. That was not a name the Foundation gave them. That was the name they had always carried. It was carved into the walls of the dead civilization that made them. It was written in the records recovered from buildings the test subjects explored at risk of their lives. The Unclean had a name before the Foundation arrived, because the people who created them had named them first. To understand what killed this world, you need to understand what it was before it died. In the parallel universe designated E093, the civilization that existed before the collapse was advanced, comparable to our own 1950s in technology, autonomous vehicles, corporate infrastructure, global communication, originally Christian in its cultural roots, in the territories that would become the dominant power. Then something arrived. In 1622, by E093's calendar, an entity came. He presented himself as a god. He offered 2 things: advanced technology far beyond what the civilization already possessed, and a divine mandate, a promise that in 10 years there would be a war to separate the clean from the unclean. Those who followed him would be saved. Those who did not would be purified. The people of E093 accepted. Within a generation, the United Lands of the Sun had unified the nations of the world under a single theocracy, a hierarchy stretching from the Most Holy Father at the top down through 10 ranks of clergy, controlling the courts, the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, all of it, Christianity was declared heresy. He authored a Third Testament. The old religion was replaced completely and officially with worship of him. To openly call yourself a Christian was punishable by immersion in the Lord's tears. The Lord's tears, a substance he described as refined from his own weeping, capable, he said, of purging sin from the soul. Those deemed sinful, heretics, criminals, moral deviants, were bathed in it. If they survived, the urge to sin was described as cleansed from their mind. The death penalty had been abolished. The Lord's tears replaced it. And for a time, for years, it appeared to work. The theocracy used it. The population believed it. The tears became the universal solution to deviation from the divine order. Purification clinics appeared in corporate buildings across the city, staffed by researchers who categorized human emotion and moral failing as medical conditions requiring treatment. The records from these clinics, recovered by the Foundation's exploration teams, describe patients held in containment capsules. Their intake charts list not physical ailments, but personality characteristics: infidelity, disobedience, wanton lust. Prescriptions read, 3 days in the Lord's tears to cleanse her system, a week in the Lord's tears to give peace of self. It was a medical system, an administrative system, a bureaucracy of purification, running efficiently, filed and cataloged, staffed by people who believed they were doing something necessary. Nobody asked what the tears actually were, or what they actually did. At its purest concentration, the Lord's tears did not purge sin. It triggered something the recovered scientific documents call quantum restructuring, a genetic rewriting at the cellular level. Those exposed to a sufficient concentration were transformed, not killed, not cured, but changed into something the civilization called the Unclean. The enormous, faceless creatures the Foundation's teams encountered in the ruins. They were not invaders from somewhere else. They were not accidents of biology. They were the people of the united lands of the Sun, the sinners, the heretics, the deviants, everyone who had been sent for purification and survived it. And here is the detail that changes everything. His holy tears purge the sin from the unclean and make them love him. The unclean were not a mistake. He gave the civilization a weapon designed to transform its own population into his servants. The theocracy distributed it. The purification clinics administered it. The Lord's tears did exactly what he intended it to do. He built an army out of a civilization's own punishment system. And when the unclean reached a critical mass, when the transformed began spreading through the population faster than the clinics could process the remaining, the unfertile zones appeared, areas dominated by the unclean, spreading outward from every population center. The cities fell one by one. The countryside emptied. By 1953, the world was what the Foundation's test subjects walked into. Silent, crawling, waiting. What made this bearable to study, what allowed the Foundation to understand any of it, was a single document found on a computer on the 54th floor of a corporate building in the dead city's center. A virus had been written into the building's computer network, placing the same document on every terminal simultaneously. Someone had wanted it to be found. The document was written by a Foundation agent from a different timeline. Someone who had found their own version of SCP-093 and used it to travel to E-093, not in 2009 when the Foundation conducted its 5 tests, but in 1972. In 1972, this agent reached the building at the heart of the dead city. Not the offices, not the clinics. Below all of that, the portal room. A rotating cylinder in the center. Walls lined with hundreds of copies of SCP-093. Beams of light connecting the cylinder to every disk. Some spaces on the walls empty. Disks already sent somewhere. This was how he traveled. An array of hundreds of interdimensional doors, each one a different world he had visited. Each one a civilization that had heard his offer of technology and divine mandate. Each one a world that had accepted and been destroyed. SCP-093 is one of dozens of interdimensional transportation devices created by him in order to travel the multiverse. E-093 was not unique. The silence we noticed when we first walked into those empty streets, the silence of a world that should have had billions of people and had none, that silence exists across multiple timelines, multiple versions of Earth, all visited by the same entity, all destroyed by the same weapon, all their populations still present, transformed and crawling, still serving the God who created them. The 1972 Foundation agent understood what the portal room was. They scattered the disks. Every copy of SCP-093 in the array sent across the multiverse simultaneously. Separated. Disconnected. Without the array, he could no longer leave E-093. He was trapped in the world he had destroyed. He is still there. The disk recovered from the shore of the Red Sea in January 1968 was one of the scattered copies. It washed up on a beach. The Foundation found it. They studied it. They contained it. They ran 5 tests using it to enter E-093, a world they understood to be anomalous, a dead parallel Earth worth investigating. They did not know it was a fragment of a prison. They did not know that every time they placed it on a mirror and sent someone through, they were opening a door back to the cell of a being who has destroyed at least one world and has the infrastructure to destroy many more. The first 4 tests brought back information and trauma and one team member who never returned. The 5th test, the red test, brought back a service technician who entered the portal room itself, who walked up to the array that he had built, who saw the walls lined with hundreds of doors to hundreds of dead worlds. When the technician came back through the mirror, he had convulsions during debriefing. It took a heavily armed team to subdue him. When he was shot, he did not bleed. He leaked a brownish-green substance. The same substance found throughout E-093. SCP-093 is currently classified Euclid. It sits on a mirror in a containment cell. It is under continuous video surveillance. Any attempt to use it outside of an approved test will be dealt with severely. The Foundation has run its 5 tests. They know what the disk is. They know what it connects to. They know what is in the portal room and what is trapped in E-093 and what he has done to at least one version of the world. What they do not know is how many copies of SCP-093 were scattered in 1972. The 1972 agent sent them across the multiverse, separated, disconnected. One of them washed up on the shore of the Red Sea. Others went elsewhere. Other timelines, other versions of Earth, other civilizations that have not yet found their that have not yet understood what it is, that have not yet wondered why it changes color when held, that have not yet placed it on a mirror. Or perhaps they have. Perhaps they placed it on a mirror last week. Perhaps they are standing on the other side of it right now, in a world that still has people in it, looking at empty plains, and feeling a blue tinge over everything, not yet knowing what the smell is, or what is crawling toward them from the direction of the nearest city. Perhaps they are looking at their disc and wondering what color it turned in their hands, and what that color means about the regrets they carry. SCP-093 is on its mirror. The 1972 Foundation Agents Report is in the archive. The 5 test logs are filed. The service technician who came back from the portal room, leaking a substance that was not his blood, has been, according to Foundation records, fully recovered and returned to duty. We do not know what he remembers. We do not know what he saw in the 2 minutes of lost contact before he returned through the mirror. We do not know if he